Now, our research focus was to use machine learning and mRNA expression data to predict the recurrence of invasive ductal carcinoma very early in advance. So invasive ductal carcinoma, or IDC, makes up the vast majority of breast cancer cases in the United States. So there are a variety of treatment options, but even after treatment, not all tumor cells might be censored, and the cancer has a chance of recurring after 5 or 10 years. The recurrence rate can be as high as 15%, and catching that recurrence as early as possible can inform treatment decisions early on as well, and that can ultimately drastically improve patient outcomes and patient health. So we aim to use mRNA expression data and develop machine learning models to make these accurate predictions of whether or not IDC would recur very, very early on. So the data set we actually used here was from the Cancer Genome Atlas. It included over 1,000 patient samples. Now, over 90% of those patient samples were non-recurrent for IDC. The genomic data was collected around 11 years on average before IDC actually occurred. And that's a crucial part of our research, because if we are able to develop a machine learning model that uses this data and predicts IDC recurrence accurately, that can be a massive contribution to the healthcare field. Because right now, we don't have very effective, accurate tools to predict IDC recurrence over a decade in advance, over that long time frame. So our data was also high dimensional. What does that mean? It included mRNA expression data for over 20,000 features, and that's over 20,000 variables that our model has to account for. So the machine learning models we chose to develop were XGBoost and Random Forest, and we chose these because they learn quite similarly. They use decision trees to make their final prediction, and we wanted to compare the performances of these models. So we aim to reduce the number of features from 20,000 variables to around 50 variables. And one way of doing this is to just drop the rest of the features, right? And just end up with 50 features. But in that case, we lose a lot of the information that we started out with. Rather, we chose to use principal component analysis, or PCA. And this transforms our original dataset into a new dataset, where each feature does not contain mRNA expression data on just one gene. Rather, it's a linear combination of the values of all 20,000 features. So in this case, when we take our top 50 features, we're able to reduce the dimensionality from 20,000 variables down to 50, but still retain over 90% of our original information. So we also fine-tune the hyperparameters of each model. And fine-tuning these kind of tweak the way the machine learning model actually learns and can have effects on the performance. So we wanted to kind of identify the best combination of hyperparameters that would help our model perform the best. So all in all, our random forest model had a 95% overall accuracy, a precision of 83%, and a recall of 56%. And I'll get into the specific interpretations of those metrics in just a moment. The XGBoost model performed quite similarly in all these metrics, but just slightly worse. So the recall score of 56% indicates that our model was able to correctly identify 56% of IDC recurrent cases with the data that was collected around 11 years early. And the precision score of 83% suggests that our model, if it predicted that a sample was recurrent, there's an 83% chance that prediction is actually correct. Now, in the future here, we want to incorporate imaging data as well to create a multimodal approach to prediction and enhance model performance. So ultimately, we were able to identify more than half of IDC recurrent cases using data that was collected approximately 11 years in advance, and we were able to do so while maintaining a very high accuracy and a very high precision. So a recall of 56% is actually a huge success, because if we think about the number of patients for whom IDC recurs, that number can be in the tens of thousands. And catching over half of those cases very, very early is still tens of thousands of people whose lives can be improved ultimately. So our findings kind of show the value of our machine learning model in a real medical setting, and also demonstrate the use of machine learning in general to improve prediction or diagnoses of diseases. So I'd like to thank Dr. Sindhu Ganta, Dr. Shilpa Toro, and Dr. Begum Akman for guiding me through my research. Thank you.